What if I told you that thousands of Americans are quietly packing up, leaving high-cost cities behind, not for a tropical beach or a mansion, but for smaller, smarter towns where their retirement dollars go further? These aren't flashy lifestyle destinations. These are places where affordability, healthcare, safety, and quality of life all align, and they're increasingly popular among strategic retirees looking to make their money last. Today we're exploring 16 US towns that are on the radar for smart Americans retiring in 2026. Let's start with Laramie, Wyoming, a high-altitude college town with big skies and even bigger appeal. Laramie combines mountain living with small-town charm. Its cost of living is lower than many coastal cities, and Wyoming's favorable tax structure makes it especially attractive for retirees. You get clean air, access to outdoor recreation, and the comfort of a close-knit community. Next up is Cedar City, Utah, a cultural gem known for the Utah Shakespeare Festival, accessible trails, and year-round beauty. Housing remains relatively affordable compared to more touristy parts of Utah, and health services are solid. For retirees who want a slower pace, access to nature, and a low cost of living, Cedar City hits a sweet spot. Over in the Midwest, Stillwater, Oklahoma offers a surprising mix of college town energy and peaceful retirement vibes. Its downtown is walkable, its neighborhoods are safe, and it's far from the noise of big metros. While Oklahoma isn't known for glitzy retirement life, Stillwater's affordability, low taxes, and warm community feel make it a smart pick. Then there's Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, arguably one of the most scenic retirement towns on this list. Lakeside views, mountain access, and a booming retiree community make it a favorite. Real estate hasn't exploded like in some West Coast towns, and healthcare access is improving. For retirees who value scenery and a slower pace without giving up amenities, Coeur d'Alene is a strategic move. In Bentonville, Arkansas, retirees are getting something rare: growth without the insane price tags. Bentonville is no longer just the home of Walmart. It's become a regional hub with good healthcare, arts, and a surprisingly high quality of life. The cost of living remains friendly, and its central US location means you're never too far from anywhere. Heading to the south, Greenville, South Carolina blends southern charm, modern infrastructure, and a thriving downtown. It's walkable, friendly, and offers plenty of amenities, but doesn't carry the same premium that some other retirement-friendly southern cities do. With mild winters and a strong sense of community, Greenville is becoming a go-to for retirees who want both tradition and convenience. La Crosse, Wisconsin is next on the list. If you're okay with four seasons, this river town offers a mix of small-town living and quality healthcare. The cost of living is moderate, and La Crosse's arts, nature, and academic presence, thanks to its university, make it a well-rounded retirement base. Then we've got Hot Springs, Arkansas, a classic retirement pick for a reason. Thermal springs, affordable housing, and a laid-back lifestyle give Hot Springs a timeless appeal. Healthcare options are decent, and the town manages to feel like a hidden spa retreat without the luxury price tag. Moving north to Traverse City, Michigan, you'll find the kind of place where retirees can sip wine, paddle on lakes, and enjoy four-season living. Real estate near Traverse City can be pricey in parts, but there are affordable pockets if you're strategic. The sense of community, combined with outdoor beauty, makes it a strong contender for people who want to age where they vacation. Back in Utah, St. George offers desert landscapes, warm winters, and a growing retiree population. Taxes are friendly, and outdoor recreation is endless. It feels like a resort town, but the cost can be far more manageable than major resort destinations. Retirees here often trade colder winters for sunshine and economic value. Over in Texas, Georgetown stands out. Not too far from Austin, but far enough to avoid the city's intensity, Georgetown offers walkable neighborhoods, charming downtown, and reasonable housing. Texas has no state income tax, which further sweetens the deal for retirees. For many, this feels like the best of both worlds: small-town charm with access to a large city's amenities. Down in Florida, Gainesville isn't your stereotypical retiree town, but that's exactly its strength. Home to the University of Florida, Gainesville has excellent healthcare, cultural life, and a surprisingly young vibe, but housing and taxes can be cheaper compared to Florida's coastal retirement destinations. It's a place where retirees can stay active, engaged, and supported. Out west in Prescott, Arizona, you'll find high desert beauty, mild seasons, and a tight-knit retiree community. The town leans into its historic charm, with walkable downtown areas and strong social infrastructure. It's also more affordable than some of Arizona's big-name retirement spots, making it a compelling choice for those willing to trade Phoenix's heat for Prescott's peace. In Greenville, Maine, retirees are drawn by coastal New England charm without the astronomical New Hampshire or Massachusetts costs. This town offers art, nature, and a calm coastal lifestyle. While Maine winters are real, the payoff is a more affordable piece of that iconic East Coast charm, paired with close-knit community and quality of life. Johnson City, Tennessee, offers something deeply strategic for retirees: a lower tax burden, decent healthcare options, and solid housing costs. Tennessee doesn't tax Social Security, and overall cost of living stays lower than many retirees expect. It's not a tourist hub, but it's rich in community and natural beauty, a serious choice if you want value without sacrificing comfort. And finally, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. Perched in the Ozark Mountains, this town feels like a storybook place. Victorian architecture, winding hills, and natural springs make it feel timeless. For retirees drawn to quirk, calm, and affordability, Eureka Springs is a strategic escape. All of these towns share a few key traits: lower than average cost of living, access to healthcare, community infrastructure, and a decent quality of life. Strategic retirees are looking not just to stretch their money, but to enjoy it. To live somewhere that feels like home, not just a retirement math problem. Many of these towns also benefit from tax advantages. States like Wyoming, Tennessee, and Texas offer favorable tax environments. Others offer affordable real estate or strong local economies that are not overly dependent on tourism or seasonal residents. That's what gives these towns staying power. They're not trend-driven. They're built to serve long-term residents. There's also a growing trend. Retirees who choose these places aren't just retiring down, they're moving up. They're creating community, contributing economically, and helping reshape what retirement means in America. These aren't empty nest towns. Many are thriving, evolving places with active seniors, young families, and local economies that are diversifying. If you're thinking of your own retirement path, relocating to a smaller, more affordable town could be one of the smartest decisions you make. It's not about giving up luxury, it's about gaining freedom, stability, and value. As costs rise in major metros, the appeal of these 16 towns will only grow stronger. If you take a closer look at the data, housing prices, healthcare accessibility, walkability, and tax structures, you start to see a fascinating pattern emerging. These retirement towns aren't random. They're part of a much larger shift in how Americans think about financial security and lifestyle balance. For decades, retirement dreams were defined by Florida condos, desert golf courses, or high-end senior communities. But that's changing fast. The next generation of retirees, people in their 50s and early 60s now, want purpose, affordability, and connection. They're trading retirement communities for real communities, and it's reshaping the map of America. Take places like Bentonville, Arkansas, or Johnson City, Tennessee. Once quiet, overlooked towns, now thriving because of retirees who want small city convenience without big city costs. These aren't people running away from city life. They're intentionally redesigning it. They're bringing business experience, volunteerism, and even remote work with them. That influx keeps local economies healthy, which in turn attracts better services, restaurants, and healthcare options. It's a self-sustaining loop, smart retirees moving in, improving the local ecosystem, and drawing even more like-minded people. Another layer of strategy behind these retirement moves is diversification, not just financially, but geographically. Just as you diversify your portfolio to manage risk, retirees are diversifying their lives. Instead of being tied to one expensive coastal state, they're moving inland or to mid-size markets where their fixed income stretches farther. The effect? A stronger sense of financial security and less stress about inflation, property taxes, or medical costs. Let's look at some hidden factors that make these towns more than just affordable options. First, healthcare access. The new breed of retirees are planners. They don't just chase sunshine, they chase good hospitals. Cities like Gainesville, Florida, and La Crosse, Wisconsin offer world-class healthcare while maintaining smaller town living. Retirees are discovering they don't need to live in major metros for top-tier care. They just need proximity to a strong regional medical system. Then there's the lifestyle factor. These 16 towns are not quiet in the boring sense. They're dynamic but balanced. They give retirees what they actually want: room to breathe, things to do, and a sense of belonging. Take Greenville, South Carolina, for example. On weekends, its downtown streets fill with farmers' markets, jazz nights, and local festivals. Retirees here aren't isolated. They're part of something that feels alive. And let's talk about nature, the underrated currency of retirement happiness. More than ever, retirees are prioritizing access to trails, rivers, lakes, and mountains. These natural amenities don't just provide recreation, they promote mental and physical health. St. George, Utah, and Coeur d'Alene, Idaho are perfect examples of places where hiking, kayaking, or simply sitting by a lake can become a daily ritual. That proximity to nature gives retirees a sense of freedom that money alone can't buy. There's also a growing preference for towns with multi-generational character. The stereotype of isolated senior enclaves is fading. The new retirees want energy. They want to be around families, students, and entrepreneurs. That's why university towns like Gainesville or Stillwater rank so highly. The presence of universities keeps communities young and offers retirees lifelong learning opportunities, cultural events, and even free classes. It's not unusual to see retirees attending lectures, volunteering on campus, or joining student-led innovation groups. From a purely financial standpoint, the math on these towns is compelling. A retiree moving from, say, San Diego to Cedar City or Hot Springs could cut their annual expenses by 30 to 40%. Without any major sacrifice in lifestyle. Lower housing costs, cheaper groceries, and no state income tax in some regions create a powerful compounding effect. That difference alone could extend a retirement portfolio by a decade or more. In essence, moving to a smarter location is like earning a guaranteed return, something no stock or bond can promise. Another interesting element is resilience. During economic downturns, smaller towns with diversified local economies tend to be more stable. They don't rely entirely on tourism or one industry. A place like Bentonville, for instance, has corporate stability from Walmart, but also a growing arts and tech ecosystem. Prescott, Arizona, benefits from retirees, but it also supports education, healthcare, and local manufacturing. That diversity keeps property values steady even when national markets fluctuate. Culturally, these towns are becoming increasingly rich too. Retirees today are looking for meaning and engagement. They want to contribute, and that's something small towns are uniquely equipped to offer. Volunteer organizations, local boards, community gardens, historical societies, these places welcome participation. In contrast to big cities, where you can feel invisible, these smaller towns allow retirees to have real impact. It's not uncommon to hear of retirees starting local nonprofits, mentoring youth, or helping shape civic policies. One trend worth noting is the rise of hybrid retirees, people who aren't fully retired. They're consulting part-time, doing remote gigs, or turning hobbies into income streams. Affordable towns make that lifestyle possible. A retiree living in Johnson City or Hot Springs can afford to take creative risks, open a small art gallery, teach online, or run a microbrewery, because overhead is low and community support is strong. This is redefining what retirement looks like. It's less about stepping back and more about finally having the time and space to do what matters. Now, there's also a subtle psychological aspect to these moves. People often underestimate the emotional relief that comes from right-sizing, trading a high-pressure, high-expense life for something simpler. Living in a smaller town can lower daily stress, foster mindfulness, and rebuild a sense of purpose. Retirees often say they feel 10 years younger after leaving expensive, crowded urban environments. And that's not just anecdotal. Studies consistently show that affordability and social connection are two of the strongest predictors of happiness in later life. Let's also address one of the most overlooked aspects of these strategic towns: their infrastructure for aging in place. Many of them have invested in accessible public spaces, transportation services, and walkable design. For instance, Greenville and Prescott both prioritize downtown areas where retirees can live within walking distance of essentials. It's not just convenience, it's long-term independence. Retirees don't have to rely as much on cars, which reduces expenses and enhances quality of life. And when you compare these towns side by side with traditional retirement destinations like Naples, Palm Springs, or Scottsdale, the advantages become crystal clear. Lower property taxes, less crowding, more authenticity. These places still feel like America, not gated resorts. They give retirees a chance to stay grounded, surrounded by neighbors who share values of simplicity, work ethic, and community. Even climate diversity plays a role. While many retirees chase sun, others are seeking seasons, the joy of autumn leaves, cozy winters, and spring blooms. La Crosse, Traverse City, and Greenville, Maine are attracting people who miss those seasonal rhythms but want affordability. It's no longer a one-size-fits-all model. Retirees are tailoring their environments to what emotionally fulfills them. Looking ahead, these towns are likely to benefit from continued migration. As remote work continues, younger populations are also moving into smaller cities, which keeps local economies vibrant and property values healthy. This means retirees aren't just saving money now. They're buying into communities with growth potential. That's an underrated long-term financial play. We should also mention one practical advantage: inheritance efficiency. Many retirees in expensive states face estate tax burdens or capital gains implications when selling property. Relocating to a low-tax state allows for better wealth transfer planning, so even for retirees thinking generationally about leaving something behind, these towns make sense. Another compelling point: these communities are less transient. People tend to stay put once they move in. That consistency creates deeper friendships and social reliability, an element of retirement happiness money can't measure. The neighbor who checks on you during a storm, the local pharmacist who knows your name, the small cafe where the barista remembers your order. These micro-experiences create a sense of rootedness that retirees crave after years of hustle and mobility. So maybe the question isn't which town you'll retire to, but how intentionally you'll choose it. Because the difference between an average retirement and a fulfilling one isn't luck, it's strategy. And that strategy begins with knowing where your money, your values, and your happiness align. If you found this breakdown useful, hit that like button, share this video with someone planning for retirement, and subscribe to the channel for more smart move ideas, investing insights, and lifestyle tips that don't blow up your nest egg. Retirement doesn't have to cost a fortune. Sometimes the best moves are the quietest ones. I've explored a lot of places across the country: towering skylines, polished coastlines, the postcard-perfect views everyone posts on Instagram, but nothing prepared me for the quiet beauty of Appalachia. Not the Appalachia you hear about in stories, not the stereotypes on TV, and definitely not the version that gets tossed around in political debates. I'm talking about the real Appalachia, an ancient world of green-tinted mountains, fog that moves like breath, towns where people still wave at strangers, and landscapes so untouched they feel older than memory itself. And today, I'm taking you there. But before we start, I want you to ask yourself something. When was the last time you saw something so beautiful it actually changed the way you felt about the world? Because that's what happened to me in Appalachia, again and again, in places that most people will never take the time to see. It began at sunrise. Appalachia doesn't just wake up, it rises slowly, like a story being told page by page. The morning fog curls between the blue-green ridges, soft and gentle, as if the mountains are still dreaming. I drove along a winding road in the early dawn, no phone signal, just the hum of my engine and the sound of wind lifting through trees. The forests on both sides were dense and endless, oak, birch, and hickory forming a canopy that filtered the sunlight into warm, honey-colored streams. There's something humbling about driving through a place that feels both alive and untouched. It's as if the land is reminding you that no matter how fast the world moves, it still belongs to something older. The first place that stole my breath was a hollow so hidden, so quiet, it felt like a secret. Locals told me about it the night before, saying, "If you really want to see the heart of Appalachia, go where the pavement ends." So that's exactly what I did. I followed a narrow gravel path down into a valley where the world suddenly opened up. Wildflowers covered the fields in bursts of color, soft violets, golds, and whites that swayed gently in the breeze. In the distance, a weathered barn leaned into the sun, its red paint faded by decades of rain and wind. You could almost hear the echoes of generations that lived, worked, and sang in these hills. And the silence. God, the silence. Not empty, not lonely, but peaceful in a way that modern life forgets. It was the kind of silence that wraps around you and lets you breathe deeper. It was here that I realized something people rarely understand. Appalachia isn't just a place, it's a feeling, a slow rhythm, a quieter heartbeat, a reminder that beauty doesn't need to shout to be heard. As I continued deeper into the mountains, I stumbled onto places that don't appear on maps. Streams as clear as glass, waterfalls hidden behind curtains of moss, and cliffs that opened into sweeping, cinematic views without a single human structure in sight. In one spot, the rocks formed natural steps, leading down into a gorge where the light filtered through the trees like stained glass. The water pooled into crystal blue basins that shimmered with every ripple. It looked like something out of a fantasy world, untouched and unclaimed. I sat by the edge, listening to the water whisper over the stone, and I wondered how many people had passed through here before me. Maybe none, maybe countless. That's the magic of Appalachia, you never know. There's history woven into every ridge and valley here. The mountains themselves are ancient, older than the Himalayas, older than the Rockies, older even than the concept of America. When you stand on an overlook and see ridge after ridge fading into the haze, you're not just looking at geography, you're looking at time itself. These mountains have witnessed millions of years, oceans rising, continents shifting, species evolving, and they'll still be here long after we're gone. But Appalachia isn't just about landscapes, it's also about people. People who carry stories and traditions handed down like heirlooms. I met one man near a general store, a small wooden place that smelled like cedar and motor oil, who told me that his family had lived in the same valley for 7 generations. "These mountains raised us," he said with a grin. "They teach you everything you need to know about patience, work, and gratitude." And you could tell he meant it. Appalachians have a warmth that feels genuine, not forced. They don't know you, but they'll offer you directions, a meal, or a story without blinking. There's a kind of grounded hospitality here that feels like stepping back into a world where kindness wasn't rare. Then there are the towns, small, colorful, tucked between ridges like hidden keeps. Some of them look frozen in time, old brick storefronts, wooden porches, diners with neon signs flickering in the afternoon sun. But the deeper you go into Appalachia, the more you realize that the region isn't just defined by its landscapes, it's defined by the quiet stories etched into those landscapes. Every bend in the mountain roads, every abandoned farmhouse, every forgotten coal town has a history people outside this region rarely hear. And some of the most extraordinary stories aren't written in books or carved into signs. They're passed down through generations, whispered on front porches, carried in the crackle of a campfire, or sung in voices shaped by the mountains themselves. Travel a little farther into the heart of the range, and you find towns that outsiders don't even know exist. Places like Bartow, Marlinton, Hinton, Grundy, Hindman, and Whitesburg. On a map, they might look like nothing more than tiny specks tucked between folds of green ridges. But in person, these towns are living museums of Appalachian culture. You'll see hand-painted storefronts, old-fashioned barber poles, churches with white wooden siding, and diners where the coffee is always hot and the accents always warm. And if you listen closely, you'll hear something else. Pride. A kind of pride that isn't loud or showy, but steady and unbreakable, built from generations who survived the hardest winters, the steepest land, and the toughest jobs America had to offer. Because in Appalachia, everything is earned, nothing comes easy, and that's exactly why everything feels so real. Follow the back roads and you'll stumble onto places that look untouched by the modern world. Old swinging bridges stretch across icy rivers. Schoolhouses from the early 1900s sit in fields like frozen moments in time. And deep in the woods, entire ghost towns still stand. Towns where coal companies once built entire communities, homes, schools, even theaters. Now, only the shells remain. Nature has begun to reclaim the bricks, the wood, the memories. But even those ruins carry a kind of beauty, the kind that reminds you that nothing man-made can last forever, but stories always do. Keep going, and you'll find some of the most mysterious spots in all of America. There are trails that lead to ancient petroglyphs carved by Native Americans centuries before the first settlers arrived. There are legends of buried treasure in the hills of Tennessee, of lost mines in Kentucky, of ghost lights floating over valleys in West Virginia. Locals will tell you these stories aren't just myths. They'll say, if you spend long enough in these mountains, you'll see things science can't explain. Some talk about hearing voices while hiking alone. Not frightening, but familiar, like echoes of the past. Others swear they've felt the mountains shift, almost like the land itself is alive. Whether you believe these stories or not, one thing is certain. Appalachia is a place where nature and mystery walk side by side. But not all the secrets here are eerie or mystical. Many are simply hidden in plain sight, like the waterfalls that only locals know how to reach, tucked behind unmarked gravel pull-offs or down steep, winding footpaths. These aren't the big, famous waterfalls you'll see on travel websites. These are the quiet ones, the sacred ones, the ones that feel like you're stepping into a world no one else has touched. You'll find falls that drop into sapphire pools so clear you can see every stone at the bottom. Falls that glow gold in the late afternoon sun. Falls where the only sound is water carving through ancient rock. A sound that has echoed here for thousands of years. And the wildlife? Appalachia has some of the richest biodiversity in America. Elk roam free in places where they vanished for centuries. Black bears wander forest edges. Endless species of birds weave songs through the treetops. In spring, the forest floor explodes with wildflowers, trillium, lady slipper orchids, flame azaleas, turning the mountains into a canvas of color. Then there's the lightning bugs. In early summer, in certain untouched pockets of the Smokies and Alleghenies, they don't just flash, they flicker in perfect unison. People travel from across the world to see this phenomenon, a natural light show that feels almost supernatural. But if you want to understand Appalachia on the deepest level, you need to spend time with the people who call it home. They're the true heart of the region. Storytellers, musicians, farmers, craftsmen, coal miners, fishermen, and families whose lineages run through these ridges like veins of gold. Sit with them on a porch and you'll learn more about these mountains in one afternoon than any book could teach. They'll tell you about the floods that swept through towns in the 70s, the coal booms and busts, the traditions they refused to let die, and the recipes passed down through generations. Food here isn't just something you eat, it's a heritage. Cornbread baked in cast-iron skillets, brown beans slow-cooked with ham hock, ramps gathered from deep forest pockets, fried apples, skillet potatoes, fried chicken the way great-grandmothers made it, and of course, the famous apple butter that simmers for hours until it's thick, dark, and sweet. And the music, that's a world in itself. Appalachian music is raw, real, and powerful. You'll hear it in community halls, roadside festivals, and front porches where fiddles, banjos, and mandolins come together in harmonies that hit you right in the chest. Many say this is the birthplace of American music. Listen closely and you'll hear echoes of Ireland, Scotland, Africa, and indigenous rhythms, all woven together into something uniquely Appalachian. But perhaps the most remarkable thing here is resilience. Appalachia has faced stereotypes, economic struggles, and hardships that outsiders rarely understand. But through everything, the people remain rooted like the mountains themselves. They adapt, reinvent, rebuild, and rise again every time. Drive through on a foggy morning, and you'll see small businesses slowly coming alive, artisans opening their shops, farmers tending their land, and families greeting each other by name. In many places, the community is so close-knit that everyone knows everyone else. And that closeness isn't a limitation. It's a strength. Because in Appalachia, community is everything. Neighbors look out for each other, strangers are treated like family, and the mountains remind you every step of the way that you're never truly alone. So when people call Appalachia unseen, they're not entirely wrong, but not in the way they think. It's unseen not because it's empty, but because it's misunderstood, because its beauty is too vast for quick snapshots. Because its stories are too deep for outsiders to grasp in a weekend visit. Because you can't truly know these mountains until you walk them slowly, breathe their myth. For decades, the American retirement dream had a very specific backdrop. A golf course in Florida, a desert community in Arizona, maybe a lake house up north. But what if I told you the most exciting, fulfilling, and financially savvy chapter of your life isn't waiting for you in the same old zip code? What if your golden years could be filled with ancient culture, stunning coastlines, vibrant communities, and a cost of living that lets your savings breathe easy and stretch further than you ever imagined? A new wave of smart, adventurous American retirees is quietly rewriting the rulebook. They're trading property taxes for passport stamps, and they're discovering a world of opportunity that makes retiring stateside look, frankly, a little ordinary. I'm Chris Conway, and today we're pulling back the curtain on the global destinations that are becoming the new hotspots for American retirees in 2026. We're not just talking about cheap places to live. We're talking about richer, fuller, more engaging lifestyles. We're counting down the 10 countries where smart Americans are planting their flags for an unforgettable and affordable next chapter. Forget the waiting list at the country club. Your best tea time might be overlooking the Mediterranean. Let's explore. Kicking off our list at number 10 is a country that offers European charm without the European price tag. A place where history whispers from every cobblestone and the pace of life is measured in cups of coffee. Portugal. For Americans, Portugal is the complete package. It boasts one of the most straightforward and attractive residency visa programs in the world, specifically designed for retirees and remote income earners. The D7 visa, often called the passive income visa, is your golden ticket. It requires proof of a reasonable, steady passive income. Think Social Security, pensions, or investment dividends. Well within reach for many retirees. Once you're in, you're welcomed by a culture of incredible warmth. The Portuguese are famously hospitable to expats, and English is widely spoken in major cities and coastal areas. But let's talk about the lifestyle. Imagine your days starting with a superb espresso for under $1, exploring historic neighborhoods in Lisbon or Porto, and ending with a world-class bottle of wine for $15 at a seaside restaurant in the Algarve. The healthcare system is excellent and affordable, often cited as a top reason retirees choose Portugal. You can live very comfortably, even luxuriously by some standards, on a fraction of what it costs in major US cities. From the cosmopolitan buzz of Lisbon to the vineyard-covered valleys of the Douro, Portugal offers a sophisticated, safe, and sun-drenched European retirement that feels both accessible and extraordinary. Coming in at number 9 is a destination that combines first-world infrastructure with a jaw-droppingly low cost of living, all wrapped up in pura vida, the pure life. Welcome to Costa Rica. This Central American gem has been a haven for North American retirees for years, and for 2026, its appeal is stronger than ever. The key here is stability and natural beauty. Costa Rica abolished its army in 1949 and has since invested heavily in education, healthcare, and environmental conservation. The result is a peaceful, educated society nestled in one of the most biodiverse places on the planet. For retirees, the Pensionado program is a major draw. It offers residency to anyone with a guaranteed lifetime pension of at least $1,000 a month. With that visa comes incredible perks, including discounts on everything from utilities and medical services to entertainment and public transport. Your dollar goes incredibly far. You can rent a beautiful home with a view for a quarter of what you'd pay in the US, and fresh local produce from bustling markets makes eating healthy a pleasure, not an expense. Whether you're drawn to the cooler, spring-like climate of the Central Valley towns like Atenas, the surf culture of the Pacific coast in Tamarindo, or the lush rainforests of the South, Costa Rica offers an active, eco-conscious retirement where you're surrounded by unparalleled natural beauty and a community that values happiness over hustle. Our number 8 pick takes us across the Atlantic to a country that's often called Europe's best-kept secret. For retirees seeking a blend of old-world culture, modern convenience, and undeniable affordability, look no further than Slovenia. Nestled between Italy, Austria, and Croatia, Slovenia is a pocket-sized powerhouse of alpine scenery, Venetian-style coastline, and fairy tale architecture. The capital, Ljubljana is routinely ranked as one of Europe's greenest and most livable cities, perfect for retirees who enjoy cafe culture, pedestrian-friendly streets, and a vibrant yet relaxed atmosphere. But the real magic of Slovenia for retirees is its balance. The cost of living, especially outside the capital, is significantly lower than in Western Europe, yet the quality of life is exceptionally high. The healthcare system is superb. The country is safe, clean, and incredibly easy to navigate. For outdoor enthusiasts, it's a dream. You can ski in the Julian Alps in the morning and enjoy a seafood dinner on the Adriatic coast in Piran by the evening. Slovenia offers a tranquil, sophisticated, and utterly charming European retirement that feels like a discovery, far from the crowded expat trails of Spain or France. It's for the retiree who wants the romance of Europe without the hefty price tag or the crowds. Landing at number 7 is a country that represents the ultimate value proposition in Southeast Asia, a place where a retiree's savings can transform into a life of luxury and ease. Thailand. The Kingdom of Smiles needs little introduction, but for 2026, its retirement appeal is more structured than ever. While Thailand doesn't have a formal retirement visa, its retirement visa extension is a well-established pathway. It requires proof of income or a substantial bank balance held in a Thai account, making it accessible for those with solid retirement savings. Once approved, you have access to a lifestyle that is nearly impossible to match elsewhere. World-class healthcare in modern, internationally accredited hospitals in Bangkok or Chiang Mai costs a fraction of US prices. You can enjoy a delicious, healthy meal from a street vendor for $2, or dine in a 5-star restaurant for the price of a casual meal back home. The cultural experiences are endless, from ancient temples to bustling markets and idyllic islands. Many retirees settle in the northern cultural capital of Chiang Mai for its cooler climate and large expat community, or on islands like Koh Samui or Phuket for beach life. Thailand offers an exotic, vibrant, and incredibly comfortable retirement where service is exceptional, the food is legendary, and your financial comfort zone expands dramatically. For number 6, we head to a nation that is fast becoming the new darling of European retirement, offering a compelling mix of low costs, rich history, and stunning landscapes: Albania. Often overlooked for its more famous neighbors Greece and Italy, Albania is emerging as a true hidden gem. What it lacks in developed expat infrastructure, it more than makes up for in raw opportunity and affordability. Think Mediterranean coastline, the Albanian Riviera, that rivals Greece's but with prices that are a fraction of the cost. Charming Ottoman-era towns like Berat and Gjirokasta, UNESCO World Heritage Sites, offer a glimpse into a slower, more authentic way of life. For the adventurous retiree with a moderate pension, Albania is a frontier of value. The cost of living is among the lowest in Europe. You can rent a beautiful apartment overlooking the sea for a few $100s a month. The people are incredibly welcoming, and as the country continues to develop and integrate with the EU, now is the time to get in on the ground floor. It's perfect for the retiree who wants a sunny coastal European lifestyle without the crowds or the high costs, and who doesn't mind being a bit of a pioneer. Albania is for those who see retirement not as an end, but as the beginning of a great adventure. Breaking into our top 5 at number 5 is a destination that combines Caribbean flair with European stability, offering a unique and tax-friendly haven: Malta. This tiny island nation in the middle of the Mediterranean punches far above its weight. For retirees, Malta's biggest attraction is its special retirement program, which offers a flat 15% tax rate on foreign pension income remitted to Malta, with a minimum tax of only €7,500. For those with substantial retirement income, the tax savings can be enormous. But Malta is more than just a financial haven. It's a sun-drenched archipelago with over 300 days of sunshine a year, rich in history, from megalithic temples older than the pyramids to fortified medieval cities like Medina. English is an official language, making integration seamless. The healthcare system is excellent and ranked among the world's best. Life revolves around the sea, with boating, fishing, and waterfront dining as central pastimes. Malta offers a safe, sophisticated English-speaking and financially efficient retirement With a deep historical tapestry and a vibrant international community, it's the ideal blend of fiscal smart and Mediterranean heart. Our number 4 spot takes us to a country that's not just a place to live, but a place to truly thrive, with one of the world's highest qualities of life. Panama. Long a cornerstone of the expat retirement scene, Panama remains a top contender for 2026, thanks to its incredibly attractive pensionado visa. This is arguably the best retiree benefits program on the planet. With a lifetime pension of just $1,000 a month, or $750 for a couple with a dependent, you qualify for a staggering array of discounts. 50% off entertainment, 30% off public transport, 25% off airline tickets, 15 to 50% off hospital bills, and even 25% off utility bills. Panama uses the US dollar as its currency, eliminating exchange rate worry. The infrastructure is modern, particularly in Panama City, which boasts a gleaming skyline and first-rate hospitals. You can choose from a cosmopolitan life in the capital, a cool mountain retreat in Boquete, or a beachfront paradise in Coronado. Panama offers a turnkey retirement solution with built-in financial perks, top-tier amenities, and a government that actively rolls out the red carpet for retirees. It's a proven, polished, and profoundly rewarding choice. Cracking the top 3 at number 3 is a nation that offers a European lifestyle with a Latin soul, incredible food, and an art scene that's second to none. Mexico. The perennial favorite for American retirees, Mexico's proximity is its superpower. You can drive back to the States, have family visit easily, and enjoy a profound change of scenery without a monumental move. But Mexico is far more than just convenient. Its diversity is astounding. You have the expat-rich beaches of Puerto Vallarta, the cultural sophistication of San Miguel de Allende, the laid-back charm of Lake Chapala, and the untamed beauty of the Yucatan Peninsula. The residency process is straightforward, and the cost of living allows for a dramatically upgraded lifestyle. Healthcare is excellent and affordable, with many doctors US-trained. The food, the festivals, the warmth of the people. Mexico offers a vibrant, colorful, and deeply satisfying retirement where you're never far from home, but every day feels like a discovery. It's the familiar foreign country that feels like a second home from day one. The runner-up, our number 2, is a country that consistently tops global livability indexes and offers a safe, clean, and incredibly pleasant environment for a fraction of the cost. Malaysia. Through its Malaysia My Second Home (MM2H) program, now revamped for 2026, Malaysia offers a long-term residency pathway for retirees with financial means. While the requirements have increased, the value proposition remains strong. Malaysia, particularly the island of Penang and the capital Kuala Lumpur, offers a mind-bending mix of ultra-modern infrastructure and low costs. You can live in a luxury high-rise apartment with a pool and gym for a few $100s a month. The healthcare is world-class and inexpensive. The food is a legendary fusion of Malay, Chinese, and Indian cuisines, and it's arguably the best street food on the planet for just $1 or $2. English is widely spoken, the climate is tropical, and the travel opportunities within Southeast Asia are endless. For retirees who prioritize modern comforts, culinary excellence, and incredible value in a dynamic, multicultural setting, Malaysia is nearly impossible to beat. It's a retirement of convenience, luxury, and flavor. And finally, the number 1 country where smart Americans are retiring in 2026 takes us back to Europe, to a nation that has mastered the art of balance, well-being, and accessible living, Spain. Spain wins the top spot not for being the cheapest, but for offering the most well-rounded, enriching, and sustainable retirement lifestyle on the planet. The non-lucrative visa, which requires proof of sufficient savings and passive income, is your gateway. Once in Spain, you tap into a way of life that prioritizes community, leisure, and pleasure. The famous siesta is more than a nap. It's a cultural respect for the rhythm of the day. From the tapas culture of Andalusia to the avant-garde energy of Barcelona and the rugged coast of Costa Brava, every region has its own soul. The healthcare system is superb and accessible to residents. The cost of living, especially in smaller towns and villages, is remarkably low compared to the quality of life offered. You can buy fresh bread from a bakery, exquisite wine from a local bodega, and spend your days hiking, learning Spanish, or simply enjoying a 3-hour lunch with new friends. Spain offers a deep, culturally immersive retirement. It's not about surviving on your savings, it's about using your savings to live a fuller, richer, more connected life. It teaches you that the best things, conversation, community, sunshine, and simple, perfect food, are often the most affordable. For the smart American retiree in 2026, looking for an authentic, passionate, and deeply satisfying life, Spain isn't just a destination, it's the answer. This isn't just a list of countries, it's a menu of new beginnings. From the tax efficiency of Malta to the pure adventure of Albania, from the familiar comforts of Mexico to the sophisticated balance of Spain, the world is truly your oyster. The smartest retirement move you can make in 2026 might not be a new financial product, but a new perspective. It's about recognizing that your nest egg can unlock a world of experience, not just a bigger house in the same town. Do your homework, visit if you can, and talk to expats who are already there. Your greatest adventure might not be behind you. It might be waiting for you in a small cafe in Portugal, on a beach in Thailand, or in a sunny plaza in Spain, where your next chapter is just beginning. There's a piece of America that's technically more American than Puerto Rico, but you can't live there, you can't visit it, and the government pretends it doesn't exist. Somewhere in the Pacific, an island has a congressman representing exactly 0 voters. And right now, there are places flying the US flag where you could commit a crime and no one's entirely sure which laws would apply. Welcome to the territories they filed under too weird to explain. Most Americans learn about 50 states in school. What they don't teach you is that the United States controls 14 additional territories scattered across the Pacific and Caribbean, and the legal status of these places makes absolutely no sense. Some have millions of people who can't vote for president. Others are just coral reefs that disappear at high tide, yet somehow have federal protection and their own legal jurisdictions. And here's the kicker. This entire system started because of bird poop. Let's talk about the Guano Islands Act of 1856, because you can't understand America's territorial empire without understanding its obsession with seabird excrement. In the 1840s, guano became the hottest commodity on the planet, a prized agricultural fertilizer and source of saltpeter for gunpowder. By the early 1850s, the UK imported over 200,000 tons per year, and US imports totaled about 760,000 tons. The resulting guano mania drove prices through the roof and triggered what might be the strangest land grab law in American history. Congress passed the Guano Islands Act, which essentially said, if you find an uninhabited island covered in bird droppings, you can claim it for the United States. No joke, this law authorized US citizens to take possession of unclaimed islands containing guano deposits, empowered the president to use military force to protect these claims, and established US criminal jurisdiction over these territories. The result? America claimed over 100 islands worldwide. Most were later abandoned or given back, but about a dozen remain under US control today. And here's what nobody tells you. This act created the entire concept of insular areas, territories that could be held by the federal government without any prospect of ever becoming states. That's right. Before 1856, any territory acquired by the US was considered an integral part of the country with a clear path to statehood. But the Guano Islands Act changed everything, establishing that America could own land indefinitely without granting it the rights, protections, or representation that come with being part of the Union. Think about that next time someone says, America doesn't have colonies. So what exactly are these forgotten territories? Let's start with the minor outlying islands, 8 tiny, mostly uninhabited specks in the Pacific and Caribbean. Baker Island, Howland Island, Jarvis Island, Johnston Atoll, Kingman Reef, Palmyra Atoll, Wake Island in the Pacific, plus Navassa Island in the Caribbean. Most Americans couldn't point to any of these on a map. Hell, most maps don't even bother printing their names. But they're all technically US soil, which means they have airspace rights, maritime boundaries, and in theory, American law applies. Take Navassa Island, sitting between Haiti and Jamaica. The US grabbed it in 1857 under the Guano Act, and Haiti has been disputing that claim ever since. Haiti's constitution has explicitly named Navassa as Haitian territory since 1874, and Haitian fishermen had been using the island for centuries before America even knew it existed. But the US doesn't recognize Haiti's claim, and the island remains under American control despite having a population of exactly 0. It's administered by the US Fish and Wildlife Service, protected as a nature reserve, and completely inaccessible to the public. So here's the situation. 2 countries claim sovereignty over a rock that nobody lives on, nobody wants to visit, and that serves no purpose except as a geopolitical middle finger. Then there's Kingman Reef, which might be the most absurd territory in American history. This isn't an island. It's a mostly submerged coral atoll that disappears at high tide. There are exactly 3 acres of land above water, composed entirely of coral rubble and giant clamshells. The highest point is less than 5 feet above sea level and is wetted or awash most of the time, making it a serious maritime hazard. And yet, Kingman Reef is a US territory with federal protection, managed by the Fish and Wildlife Service, and technically subject to American criminal jurisdiction. Here's where it gets wild. You could theoretically commit a crime on Kingman Reef and be prosecuted under US federal law, assuming you could stand on the reef long enough without drowning. The atoll encloses a lagoon up to 270 feet deep and has a total area of 29 square miles within its outer rim. But only those 3 acres are above water. Population 0. Crime rate technically perfect, unless you count the sharks. And speaking of sharks, the ecosystem here is completely inverted. 85% of the fish biomass consists of apex predators. That means sharks, jacks, and other carnivores dominate the food chain in numbers never seen elsewhere. It's an aquatic thunderdome where everything wants to eat everything else, and somehow the US government said, yes, this parking lot-sized death reef is ours. But wait, there's a territory even stranger than the disappearing reef. Swains Island, part of American Samoa, has been privately owned by the Jennings family since 1856. An American whaler named Eli Hutchinson Jennings arrived with his Samoan wife Malia, allegedly purchased the island for 15 shillings per acre and a bottle of gin from an English captain, and his descendants have controlled it ever since. The US formally annexed Swains Island in 1925, but the Jennings family retained ownership. And here's the beautiful absurdity. Swains Island has a seat in the American Samoan legislature, a representative, a delegate with voting power, for an island with 0 permanent residents since 2008. Let me repeat that. An island with no people has more representation in government than Washington, D.C., which has 700,000 residents. Swains Island gets a legislative voice. Puerto Rico's 3.2 million US citizens don't get a voting member of Congress. Make that make sense. Speaking of legal paradoxes, let's talk about Palmyra Atoll, the only US territory that's both incorporated and unorganized. Incorporated means it's officially part of the United States proper, with full constitutional protections. Unorganized means it has no local government, no legislature, and no permanent residents. Palmyra is technically more American than Puerto Rico from a legal standpoint. If you're born on Palmyra, you're unequivocally a US citizen with full constitutional rights. If you're born in Puerto Rico, you're a citizen, but the Constitution doesn't fully apply, and you can't vote for president. Palmyra was part of the Kingdom of Hawaii, annexed by the US, along with Hawaii in 1898. When Hawaii became a state in 1959, Congress explicitly excluded Palmyra from the new state. Why? The official reason was that it was uninhabited and distant, so it would be difficult to administer. The unofficial reason might have involved property ownership disputes, potential challenges to US sovereignty claims, and the fact that the island's private owners had successfully prevented the Navy from condemning the island during World War II. Today, Palmyra is co-managed by the US Fish and Wildlife Service and the Nature Conservancy, with a rotating population of 4 to 20 researchers and staff. And it has a dark history. In 1974, a wealthy sailing couple named Mac and Muff Graham disappeared while staying on Palmyra. Years later, in 1981, a visitor stumbled upon human remains and a metal box containing bones. Forensic analysis revealed that Muff Graham had been bludgeoned to death, her body dismembered and burned with an acetylene torch before being stuffed into the aluminum container and dumped in a lagoon. Two drifters who had been on the island at the same time, Buck Walker and Jennifer Jenkins, were eventually tried for the murder. Walker was convicted. Jenkins was acquitted with the help of Vincent Bugliosi, the prosecutor who put away Charles Manson. McGraham's body was never found. So yeah, Palmyra is paradise, if your definition of paradise includes unsolved murders and decomposing evidence washing ashore. Then we've got Johnston Atoll, America's toxic wasteland with a wildlife refuge PR campaign. From the 1960s through 2000, Johnston was where the US military stored and incinerated chemical weapons. We're talking nerve agents, sarin, VX, sulfur mustard, plus Agent Orange defoliant from Vietnam. The island also hosted nuclear tests in 1962, at least one of which failed catastrophically and scattered plutonium contamination across the atoll and into the surrounding waters. US troops were sent in for a rapid cleanup, scrubbing down launch pads and carting away debris. The plutonium-contaminated rubbish dumped in the lagoon. By 2000, the Johnston Atoll Chemical Agent Disposal System had successfully destroyed 412,798 chemical weapons, about 6% of the entire US stockpile. The military declared the island decontaminated and handed it over to the Fish and Wildlife Service as a nature reserve. But decontaminated is doing some heavy lifting here. There are still warnings about unexploded munitions. The soil has been tested, the top layers removed, but plutonium has a half-life of 24,000 years, and nobody's in a rush to move there. Population 0, except for a small army of coconut crabs that may or may not glow in the dark. Job market closed unless you're a hermit crab with security clearance. Wake Island is another category of strange, a military outpost frozen in World War II. It's home to about 100 rotating military personnel and contractors, with no permanent residents and no local government. Wake was bombed on the same day as Pearl Harbor, and the Battle of Wake Island became a legendary moment of American resistance during the war. Today, it's mostly a runway, some bunkers, rusting communication towers, and a radar installation that definitely isn't watching satellites. The US Air Force administers it, and new construction is planned for 2027, demolishing old facilities and building consolidated support structures, new living quarters, and an expanded aircraft parking apron. Wake is also disputed by the Marshall Islands, which claims historical sovereignty. But since Wake has no voting rights, no constitutionally guaranteed protections, and no way to challenge its status, it remains in legal limbo. Now let's talk about the territories people actually live in. Puerto Rico is the big one, 3.2 million US citizens living in what can only be described as a constitutional contradiction. Puerto Ricans are citizens, they carry US passports, they can be drafted into the military, and they pay federal payroll taxes. But they can't vote for president, they have no voting representation in Congress, and the Constitution doesn't fully apply to them thanks to a series of early 1900s Supreme Court cases called the Insular Cases, which were based on explicitly racist rationales about whether uncivilized populations could handle full constitutional rights. Puerto Rico has held 7 referendums on its political status. The most recent one, in November 2024, saw 56% of voters choose statehood. 620,782 votes. That's more support than any candidate for governor received. And Congress? Crickets. No action, no binding vote. Just another non-binding referendum added to the pile. Meanwhile, 59% of Americans support Puerto Rico statehood, but that doesn't seem to move the needle either. Here's the twist. Puerto Rico has become a tax haven for wealthy Americans through Act 60. If you become a bona fide resident of Puerto Rico, you can enjoy a 4% corporate income tax rate, 0% tax on capital gains, and 100% tax exemption on dividends. These incentives are valid until 2035. So if you're rich, Puerto Rico rolls out the red carpet. If you're a local resident, you're stuck with a median income of $22,000 per year, less than half the US mainland average, high electricity costs, unreliable infrastructure, and a government that treats you like a second-class citizen. Then there's the Northern Mariana Islands, population 47,000, which spent decades as a corporate loophole disguised as a US territory. From the mid-1980s through the early 2000s, Saipan became ground zero for labor exploitation. Garment factories imported workers, mostly women from China and the Philippines, paid them below minimum wage, housed them in overcrowded barracks, and worked them 14-hour days. The products, stamped made in USA because the Northern Marianas technically counts as US territory. Companies got to slap patriotic labels on goods produced under sweatshop conditions, bypassing US labor laws entirely. The scandal eventually led to reforms. Federal minimum wage was finally enforced, the factories shut down, and new regulations came in. But the economic damage was done. Today, the islands survive on tourism, mostly from Korea, China, and Japan. But the cost of living remains high due to expensive electricity and imported goods. And here's a fun fact: US citizens can live and work there visa-free. But you can't buy land unless you have Northern Marianas descent. You can only lease. Finally, we have the freely associated states: Micronesia, the Marshall Islands, and Palau. These are technically independent countries, not US territories. But the compacts of free association give the US full control over their defense, foreign policy, and access to their land, water, and airspace for military purposes. In exchange, the US provides financial assistance, and citizens of these nations can freely travel, live, work, and study in the United States without visas. The compacts were renewed in 2023 and run through 2043. Combined population, just over 200,000. Most young people leave for Guam, Hawaii, or the mainland because there are no jobs. Healthcare requires flights. Internet is slow. Electricity is inconsistent. And yet, these countries host US military installations and radar systems that are critical to Pacific defense strategy. More people from these nations now live in the US than in their home countries. America gets the land, the strategic positioning, and the talent. The islands get financial aid and the polite fiction of sovereignty. So here's the reality. The United States controls 14 territories with nearly 4 million residents, most of whom are US citizens. They live under American law, pay federal taxes, serve in the military, and carry US passports. But they can't vote for president. They have no voting representation in Congress. They can be denied federal benefits with minimal justification, and the Constitution doesn't fully protect them. Some of these territories are uninhabited rocks claimed for bird poop. Others are toxic wastelands declared nature reserves. One is a family-owned plantation with a legislative seat and no voters. And one is legally more American than the place where 3 million citizens actually live. These are the territories they pretend don't exist. The legal loopholes, the constitutional gray zones, the places that reveal what the United States really is when you strip away the mythology of equality and representation. You want freedom? You can have it. On a reef that disappears at high tide, on a contaminated atoll with nerve gas residue, or on an island where you're a citizen without a vote. That's not freedom. That's abandonment with a flag.